gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all the time. Happy Sabbath. Let your light shine among the nations. Today the Lord put it on my heart to talk about principalities and powers. Principalities and powers, whenever you hear about that in the Christian community, we often talk about Ephesians chapter 6, verses 12 and 13. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world. Now we mentioned that in passing, and sometimes we just glaze over it, like, just principalities and powers. What exactly is principalities and powers? Now the Bible talks about the prince of the air, the powers of the air. Now in a previous video I mentioned that they are entities that have been around for thousands of years. These entities are powers decided amongst themselves that they are going to divide the world into different principalities and rule over human beings, have their will exerted upon this earth through human beings which were willing to take on their spirit within their vessel and operate through their powers here on this earth. It's not something that is far-fetched, because as we know, we already have occults here. We already have some churches who have church on the front door, misleading people thinking that this is of Christ, but behind the scene they're operating through demonic powers. This is extremely harmful. I'm going to explain why. Why do these entities use human beings? They are stronger. They have more abilities. When I say abilities, they're able to change their form, their physical form. They're able to walk through walls. They're able to affect the human psyche just by mind. They're able to send brain waves to affect you. They are much stronger and much more powerful in ability than human beings. But why use human beings? That is where rules come in. God gave Adam the authority or dominion over the earth and over the creatures here on earth. In the Garden of Eden, Satan, one of these entities, fallen angels that were kicked out of heaven because of pride, he wanted to rule heaven instead of God because he thought that he would do a better job. God said no, he is God. He kicked him out of heaven and sentenced him here to earth in darkness. And since then, he has been deceiving mankind. These operations here on earth, they're not just quiet, simple operations. There's people in power, people in places of authority who are operating through these powers, these demonic powers that are harming others. Spiritual bullying, spiritual harassment. This is wrong. And it's detrimental to families. There's people who are in places, because these entities, they love power, they love authority, and they love influence. This is why you see them in operation through celebrities. This is why you see them in operation through politics. This is why you see them in operation within the police departments. This is why you see them in operation throughout financing departments. They want full and complete control of who was given authority or dominion over this earth. When Adam gave away his dominion to Satan, Jesus Christ came to retrieve back. Adam being the first man, Jesus Christ the second man, the quickening spirit that came back to retrieve what Adam gave away 2,000 years ago. And people are still being deceived 2,000 years later to give away their authority to other spirits or other beings for knowledge, for technology, for money, for power, for things of the carnal mind and not of the spiritual. Now, some of these organizations, when you enter in, because what these entities do, they like to keep you in a place of dependency. You need to be in poverty. You need to be in sin, because sin separates you from God. They want that connection between you and God to be destroyed. They don't want you to have any sort of connection between you and God. Why? Because God will tell you the truth. God will lead you in the path of righteousness, and God will help you to create things on earth that He wants that will destroy their economy. And people believe that lie, operate in that lie, and go out and kill, steal, and destroy just like their father, the devil, in order to bring about demonic will on this earth. What does that look like? Spiritual manipulation, spiritual bullying. When you become a part of these occult, when you're at the bottom, you get a little bit. When you move up another level, you get a little bit. When you move up another level, you get a little bit. You start off small, but then you start sacrificing. Then you're giving blood sacrifices. You're sacrificing family members, people who you love, because the more that you love this person is the one that they want you to kill. Why? They don't need that. They need to control you. Control and power is what they want. There are people who have learned from a young age how to manipulate other people and control them spiritually. There are people walking around doing that right now, using witchcraft on people to manipulate them spiritually, control their mind, will, and emotion, their soul. You have people going to jail, and you have people going to psychiatric institutions because of other people exerting their knowledge of occult practices they have been using against simple people to put them in jail and to put them in psychiatric institutions. And because we are not looking or not seeing or not making the effort to stop it, they're continuing to do this. Innocent people, destroying families. That's what's happening. You have people sitting down in a jail cell that didn't commit a crime. What I mean is, when you as a person go into these organizations and you take allegiance with these spirits first, they influence you from the outside. They tell you, do this, do that. They need to see, okay, is that somebody who's obedient to my will? Now you start making sacrifices. Now you start taking allegiance. Now you have this spirit indwelling within you, operating through you, cursing people, spell binding people, putting spirits over people's mind, constricting their thought process to demonically program them. This is what's happening. Demonic programming. Mind binding spells to keep people locked. If you don't want this for yourself, why would you do this to another person? Why would you do that to someone else? Lack of conscience. If you listen to others' testimonies, you'll see that once you get these spirits inside you, you no longer have a conscience. That connection to God that gives you some sense of connection, some sense of humility, some sense of this is wrong, is now going slowly. Before you know it, you're fully under control by demonic powers, blocking people out. I'm going to go into this in separate videos. I'm going to talk about workplace witchcraft, exactly what happened to me when I was in the workplaces, people following me home spiritually, taking clothing items from my home, making comments about my home that only someone who was in my house would know. I'm gonna go through like different videos to explain each one of these things like in stages so that you could understand what's happening. I've even, decided to make a video about college witchcraft, what was going on college sites, recruiting people on college sites, happening right now today, spoken about in the Bible 2,000 years ago, the same witchcraft practices. How is it that we know that Jesus is the one who has all authority here on earth? He still gives people the option to choose. What is it you're going to do here on this earth? But he's still in authority. If we look at Matthew 28:18, and Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. He came so that he could take back that authority. In heaven, and here on earth, he has all authority. Although these people have powerful places and positions here on the earth, there's a kingdom in operation that is way past their authority. There's a full stop to what it is that they can do and what they can't do. Once you as a Christian decide that you're going to follow Christ, you're going to face difficulties because of witchcraft or shadow blocking, using occult practices. And the reason you don't know this because you're not supposed to. You are not supposed to go and learn witchcraft to fight witchcraft. You are supposed to go and read the Bible and listen to the Word of God to help guide you through the witchcraft, which is in effect. Once these people take allegiance to these entities at any point in time can come down and indwell within that person. They have legal right because that person gave away their will to that entity. You could be sitting down in front of a judge during a court case and not be speaking to a judge, but be speaking to a principality or demon. You could be pulled over by a police officer, but not only speaking to a police officer, but directly to a demon who has influence over that person. Once the spirit gets inside of that person doesn't have control over the spirit. The spirit has control over that person. What does that mean? They can block them out. They could block them out to a point where they don't remember what happened. Their body is being used, but not by them. That's how serious witchcraft is. You are looking at a generation of people who accept this behavior more than they accept Christ or having a conscience. How many sacrifices are you having a day? What kind of sacrifices are going on? How many missing persons do you have in your borough? Where are those people going? Why is it that when I am talking to my mother or father, because witches, they don't stay still, 3 a.m. at night, they are astral projecting, leaving their body, word cursing communities. You as a vulnerable person who is not in the word, it says God blinks in the sight of ignorance at times. But at times, if you don't go and make the effort to spiritually protect yourself, read the word, pray, keep in communion with God, if this is not something that you are doing, then you can fall prey or victim to them. That has happened to me. And I'm going to tell you my testimony. I have had, and I'm going to go into depth in another video, I've had these things, what they call aliens, come into my home, inject me with something, black me out, and I don't remember anything after that. And just remember some time passing and being back in my bed a couple days later. That's all I remember. And I'm going to go into depth about that, because this has ties back to government. It's wrong. If kidnapping is wrong, physical kidnapping, why isn't spiritual kidnapping wrong? Inhabiting another person's body is wrong. It is not funny, it is wrong. Spiritual stalking and harassment, because these organizations have branches, because they don't just stay in one place. They want full authority and dominion over this world. They want to exert their will and force in this world. They have branches operating in different countries, in different states, in different places, who all have one agenda. What does that mean? That if one person from this organization is attacking this person, even if they had a conscience to say stop, the spirit dwelling within them will continue, because they know the power of that person. You have people being isolated, targeted, and attacked because of their connection to God, using powers and authority, technology, weapons to attack individual citizens just because they are connected to God. Overkill on innocent civilians so that you can follow demonic practices, operating through carnality. It is sick and it is wrong. How can you forsake your own human race and believe a devil, follow this devil, and think in the end that they will defend you over their own kind? How many people went to hell because of these devils? You know, they are the first ones to go before the throne to tell on you about everything you do, to keep you in bondage, and then tell you here that you need to be silent. Don't be a snitch. Don't talk about, but they're the first ones to go up to heaven to give you away, but give you the storyline of not being a snitch. Don't tell, but then turn around behind your back and give you up. God, look what she did last night. Could you believe it? What's her punishment? And then come back and tell you, no, it's all right, you know, these things happen. No, they're lying through their teeth so that they can manipulate and control you into bringing destruction on earth. Look at where we are today. Complete chaos. What are the vehicles to opening gates to these forces? Your emotions is one of the number one techniques that they use in order to control you. How? Anger, hate, jealousy. These are vehicles. You know why? If I can manipulate you to be angry with someone, that means that I can control the outcome. Because what? They study you over time. They learn your character, they learn who you are, and they understand your trigger points. Simple. I know if I press this button, I'm going to get you angry. I'm going to get you to do this. How do I know that? I am black. I lived on the island where there are mostly black people. That cannot be a trigger for me, because I see black people every day. So what's going to be the trigger point? Money. I am going to use money to manipulate you into classes. Now I have something to control you. You in this class are going to look down on these people in this class, and I could manipulate you. This poverty person right here. Get rid of them. Matter of fact, let me see first if they have anything that I can take spiritually to give to you without leaving any evidence physically that I took something from them. Destiny. Stealing. I remember when God first looked upon me, He blessed me with the Holy Spirit. He gave me gifts from heaven. He opened up the heavens to me. And I remember specifically a man, a warlock, in a place of power, because anything spiritual happening, they're aware of it. These entities would then deliver a message to their human vessel. Their human vessel would then operate. You understand? And how you know this? Because the Bible tells us that the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy. He steals. God gives a blessing to a person so that you could be a blessing to others here on earth. The devil sees that, sees your gifts, sees your talent, steals that gifts and talent, and leaves you in poverty. Keep you down. I remember seeing one night, I was in the kitchen because one of my gifts is cooking. He gave me a gift to cook. He taught me ingredients. He taught me how to use ingredients, and he taught me how to heal. And he's still teaching me today. And I remember in my kitchen one night cooking, just so happy that I received a blessing from God, or him fostering my talents. Because on the job site, for people's birthdays, I used to find out whose birthdays was, and I'd make a meal for them depending on what they like, or something that's representation of me. And I would cook for the entire night shift, because that's the shift that I was on. I was a quality assurance technician at that time. And I'm going to say this because it's important. It was a white man, short. He had I don't want to say bald, but his hair was thinning. And he had on a belt, and he was just peeping in. And there was another lady sitting behind him at a table with glasses, just writing. So as I'm preparing the dishes, they're writing. But he was taking what I was doing within the kitchen clear as day. It was like he was floating above me, but it's like I saw him. As they did the witchcraft, I was seeing them while I was cooking. Writing it down, taking down everything, and then cursing me. Spellbinding me, witchcrafting me to keep me in a state of poverty so that I could never use my talents here. That is the witchcraft that I'm talking about. Demon setting. Demon setting is where these people go to hire, because within these occults they have the people that they pay to send spirits or do assignments for them, do what they need to do here to go about their day, getting whatever they want, because what the devil promised them, whatever you want you get. He doesn't discipline them because he wants to keep them dependent. So you are walking around in full carnality because that's his tool of control. Sex, food, addiction to porn. Anything that he can use as a tool to control you or to embarrass you in the future, because that's a method of control. Don't want anyone to know, they will do it. Paying people within their organizations or individuals going to witches to pay them to send demons. Listen to me. Send entities or spirits with abilities that surpass the human ability to oppress another person or spiritually block a person from being able to go about their day. What does that look like? All of a sudden you walk into a space and you just feel drained. You're just drained. You know you're not working that hard, but you're drained. Why? Because there's someone in there who has set a demon on you to drain your energy, or has a crystal, because they like to use crystals to draw energy from you, leaving you drained. Why? Because you can go back to God if you're a Christian and pray to God to strengthen you. You're getting fed by God, and they're using you to get fed. Why? Because they have now locked themselves off of the connection to God, the ability to pray to God and have Him answer. Because if you're operating in sin intentionally, He doesn't want to hear you. And it says so in the Word, if you go look it up. Choosing God is choosing obedience to His will, to His word here on earth. That's what that is. You have to be able to discipline, which is hard sometimes, because when he gets you in all your broken pieces, it's a process. He has to clean you up physically and spiritually. He has to clean you up, because your spirit has been so destroyed and torn over the years that it takes a process to heal. He is God. He can do it in the blink of the eye. But where's the lesson for you in it if He does it in the blink of an eye? There is no lesson for you. You have to learn, what is this that happened to me? How can I heal from this process? And that's what He goes through you step by step. It takes you however long it takes you, because it's more important that your soul is healed and that you are in one with Him than it is for you to just go and spread the word. How are you going to spread the word to the world and you are broken inside? Demons can see right through you. They see your broken places. They will jump all over that. And God will be embarrassed. It's not that He doesn't want you to be there. You have to heal within yourself. You have to understand what it is that you're facing before you're able to carry on the gifts and the blessings that He gave you. You have to be able to protect it. You have to be able to protect yourself first before you're able to move on. I remember, I'm going to talk about these false churches specifically because in my time of need when I was in college, I'm going to give you guys a different video about my exact experiences in college. I felt inside myself that something was going wrong, and I just knew that I had to get to a church. Let me tell you, there are so many churches in this world. So many. But very few operate through the power of God, through the power of Yahweh, through the power of King Yeshua. Very few. And I'm going to tell you about this one church. It was a Pentecostal church. And that's another story I'm going to tell you about love bombing. It was a Pentecostal church. And if you look at Ezekiel chapter 13 verse 20, I'm going to make reference. You're going to go read it. It tells you about making souls to fly. They were operating through powers that I can't tell you that was fully of God. Because God has power, God has ability, but you have to be in the state of being where you're able to accept and be a good steward of those abilities. I remember having weird dreams, and one dream specifically stood out to me because there were people astral projecting into my home. There were different enterings people's space without permission is a different thing. You're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be astral projecting into anyone's home without their permission. And God will allow these things so that we can see and we can understand that they are happening. But be aware that you do have angels, or if you look in the book of Hebrews, it'll tell you they're called ministering spirits that are there to protect the children who are going to inherit salvation. You have angels as a Christian there to protect you, but sometimes He allows these things so that you can see what it is that they're protecting you from, so that you better work with them. Okay? I was dreaming one night that I was flying because I was introduced to this church by a faculty member within the college. I was introduced to this church, and I remember the dream flying, and I knew that this wasn't a regular dream. I was taken and I was flown to this, like, it was like this countryside looking place with a cabin, and inside the cabin was a brick or a stone, like where you do sacrifices kind of, and there were people that I knew within the church naked, just having sex and just crawling around the stone, and it was so nasty and filthy that I just stood by the window. I was like floating by the window with this person. They were showing me it, and I was like shocked. I did not have an understanding that I do now about sacrifices, using sex rituals, and all of these different rituals that they use to invite demonic spirits around them, or whatever it is, or receive whatever they have to get from them. It was the nastiest thing I ever seen, because these were people that were in the church, just in that place spiritually naked, having sex orgies on a sacrificing stone as a ritual. I remember leaving in the spirit and just going back to my body and waking up remembering that dream vividly. Remember, I told you that there were people astral projecting into my home. So they were operating through powers that were not of God. There were beings in that church that were not of God. There were musical instruments being used that felt as though they were draining my soul, because they used to have services, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. They used to have Wednesday services. Leaving that place every time felt draining. When you're going before God, you don't feel, the only time you feel drained is when He's giving you bad news. You're not supposed to go before God and just receiving nothing. He says, "Come to me, those who are heavy laden and burdened." When you come to Him in that state of being, He restores your strength. You are not supposed to be going before God heavy burdened and laden, and coming out even more heavy burdened and laden, because that means He's a liar. And in His word He said that God is not a liar. He doesn't lie. He says a thing and it comes to pass. He spoke this world into existence. Ephesians chapter 2:2. It says, wherein in times past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. It's cut and dry. We were born in a sin-fallen world. If you are not operating in the Spirit of God, by default you are operating under Satan's power. And by that, you are under control of people that may be in places of authority over you, that might be using spiritual means that is doing you harm, and you don't know. But there are people all over the world who have different religions. They do this, they do that. Yes, the Bible speaks specifically about them. Call them Gentiles. We all stem back to Father Abraham. Father Abraham back to Adam. Father Abraham his seed was blessed. He had nations among him. Those nations had the same choices that we have today. Who are you going to serve? They chose to follow other gods. Here, there, they went off, they spread off into different nations, and that's why you have different religions today. Because they chose to follow other gods. Our God is one, mighty. They call him within these different communities source. They know that there is a main God above these other gods. And sometimes when you're at the bottom, because you're so fixed on carnality, you know, the money, the car, the flashes, the bling, yeah, that's it. That's not what it's all about, because they are receiving something from you and giving you something temporal. You're getting something temporal and they are receiving something eternal from you. Do not be deceived or tricked. There is one God, Yahweh, Jehovah, El Shaddai, Jehovah Nisi. All these different terms are endearment. Look at the top of any organization that you're about to enter. Look at what's operating or running at the top before you start off at the bottom, and then wait until you get there to turn back and say, oh no. Look first before you go. Yes, you will receive money. Yes, you will get all that your heart desires, everything that you want. You'll be on top of the world. But what's a man to gain the whole world and lose your very own soul? What is it to you? I pray this word reaches you throughout all the nations, and that you have a blessed day today, and that the Spirit of God be with you as you go about your day. The word tells you how to protect yourself, and the word tells you how to discern spirits, between spirits. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't depend on your understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Take care. Bye-bye.